Discharge from jail treatment program on August 19th. You understand the charge?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Novotny?
Your Honor, today we're going to waive the final hearing, admit to the violation forthcoming today.
Is that what you want to do?
Yes, sir.
What's your plea to the allegation?
I'm guilty.
I'll accept your guilty plea.
This moment right here sets the tone. He admits the violation up front. In probation hearings, this is basically waving the white flag. From now on, the question isn't if he violated. It's just how hard the judge is going to hit back.
Accept your guilty plea and find you guilty, Ms. Novotny.
Your Honor, we would like you to consider, if possible, to remain on community control with that respect. Hopefully to potentially continue and finish the JTP program with that. Your Honor, I did submit some exhibits, specifically 5, that informs the court about the hydrosyphilis that my client has suffered from. In 2009, he had neurological surgery on that, which ultimately, several of the documents have ultimately come to tale that such surgery has affected with the mix of his puberty, testosterone influx, and the surgical procedure has impacted his executive functioning, which causes ultimately his impulse control or his executive functioning or thinking to become an issue.
His attorney is presenting a deep neurological and psychological history, executive function issues, impulse control, testosterone spikes. This is a lot. The strategy is clear. Build a medical explanation for behavior, not an excuse. But do you think the judge will buy it?
To become an issue. So that has been a battle for Mr. McDonald here. He's been trying to work with that. He's been working with the Cleveland Clinic. He's been working with Applewood Center's mental health and other mental health providers to help keep that intact, as well as to find ways that he can cooperate or ultimately diminish the impulsivity urges, as well as monitor those primary issues that he's been experiencing. In one of the specific exhibits that I provided to the court, ultimately, such surgery with the testosterone influx has caused a degree of interference in his functioning social impairment, which is no excuse for what has occurred here, but ultimately may make an explanation for it, and Andrew understands that. Ultimately, he does show remorse for what has occurred. He just would like another opportunity to show the court, as well as to maintain the treatment that he's getting for his neurological disorder. And he has been constantly working with the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities with this, and he's receiving help and disability for such disorder. We're just asking for any leniency with this probation violation, Your Honor, and to consider him for community control.
Mr. McDonald, what do you want to tell me?
Well, in the jail, it is very difficult to, not necessarily cooperate, but to keep a good, I don't want to say attitude, but to just be positive is just very, because with the correctional officers having bad days and them coming in, and it's just, and with me, I have a very hard time with, them people younger than me coming in scolding me because they're having a bad day and things of that nature, and people in JTP hearing them scold me and they knowing I have, a chip on my shoulder and I'm on a thin line. It's just difficult to, I've been dealing with this jail for 9 months, and it's very mentally disturbed me. I don't feel as though I'm getting any mental health
9
treatment.
months in jail, untreated mental health issues, and a constant battle with authority figures. This is the first moment he genuinely sounds exhausted. Whether you believe him or not, this is the human side of long-term incarceration. What do you think? Real remorse or courtroom performance?
Mental health treatment, even with JTP, I don't think it was. But if you give me another opportunity, I know for sure I will complete it. I'm not making any excuses. I could have sat, and completed the program me being who I am, I like to play around, and I guess I did too much of it. So I'm gonna own up to the fact that I, didn't complete JTP, and it was my fault. But I know for a fact if I get the chance to, I will successfully complete community control. I just want a shot at the community. And I'm just hoping you recognize that.
You've been in and out of courts for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Got a felony in March of 21.
That is when it started, the felonies.
All right. And it didn't stop then, right?
No, sir.
Okay. You got a misdemeanor out of Shaker Heights Muni, felony out of Richmond Heights for drugs, another felony, Cuyahoga, protection order violations twice within 6 days in Shaker Heights Court. Another one that was a felony, Cuyahoga. Failure to comply with the order or signal of a police officer June 12th of 23. Another one in Eastlake in October 20 of 23. So 4 months later. And then 10 days later, you get this one.
This is the turning point. The judge isn't just listing charges. He's building a timeline of chaos. Felonies, protection order violations, fleeing police, and all within months of each other. This is the kind of pattern judges call a public safety risk, and once that label sticks, it's almost impossible to shake.
So why do you keep doing this?
Well, initially, drugs were a big issue for me, the uses of drugs, but now that I've been in here, this is the longest I've ever been away from my family, the community. I don't want to keep spending my life in jail. This is not the place for me at all.
Well, see, I put you on community control despite the nature of this offense. And this offense is police try to stop you and you decide you ain't gonna stop. And then you proceed to go in excess of 100 miles an hour. And this is 10 days after you had another one, which was 4 months after you had another one. So you don't seem to want to do what you're supposed to do. Now, I put you on community control for 5 years. And because of the drugs, I put you in the jail treatment program, and you didn't want to do it. You got kicked out of it. Because the next step was to continue the psychiatric treatment.
Yes, sir.
And everything else that goes along with it. Okay? So Ms. Novotny talks about your medical condition, and that's, your medical condition is your medical condition. It may cause you to do things or not. I don't know, okay? But if it does, you need to figure out how to control that. And you're not making the effort to do that. If you were making the effort to do that, you wouldn't get kicked out of jail treatment program. I mean, running from the cops and going 100 miles an hour in and out of traffic is dangerous. But you keep doing it. And you know it's dangerous. But despite that, I put you on community control. But you don't want to do that either, or you wouldn't have got kicked out of that program.
This is
And-
where everything collapses. Getting kicked out of treatment programs is one of the fastest ways to lose a judge's trust. To them, it signals refusal to change, no matter the excuses. And when a defendant becomes a danger, in the judge's eyes, prison becomes the default solution.
And from what I understand now, from what you're saying, you're blaming other people for agitating you so that you got kicked out.
I take full responsibility, sir.
Well, you may say that, those are nice words, but what you're telling me is the COs were taking it out on you because they had a bad day. Other inmates were giving you nonsense. So at some point, you just got to stop doing this stuff because you're putting people in danger. I don't know what's going on with that Cuyahoga case that's been pending for 14 or 15 months, and I don't really care, okay? But you are a danger because of the way you conduct yourself. And when we attempt to put things in place to treat that, you don't want to do it. How many days does he have, Dave, total?
Judge, he has credit for 204 days total.
All right, I'm going to find that you're no longer amenable to community control, so I'm going to terminate your community control, and I'm going to sentence you to 24 months in prison with credit for 208 days. When you get out, you might be on post-release control for up to 2 years under the parole authority. They'll put conditions on you. If you violate the conditions, the parole authority could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. If the violation's a new felony, and you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for that violation, the maximum of which would be the greater of 12 months or the time left under post-release control. Anything else, Ms. Novotny?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
We're adjourned.
24 months in prison, plus the risk of added time if he violates parole later. This is a heavy sentence, but considering the record, maybe the judge felt he had no choice. What do you think? Was the sentence fair? Or should he have received one more chance?